Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Let's begin with where we live. The previous session we completed with all the discovery board part, all the topics related to discovery board, and we started with the workbook. Yes. Now, for the workbook, I gave you a brief introduction, a small introduction on how we can create a new worksheet, and in worksheet, what are the other options which we get, where all the things are located functionally. And let's say if I want to pull any function, from where I can find the function list. We discussed all this top part of this Excel. Coming to the investing the data into the worksheet, we can also manually enter the data into the worksheet, just we do in Excel. What you can do is you can copy the data from anywhere and we can just paste it over here, or we can upload the file as but what in case if you want to merge the data together. Just Prism, where we take the external data and merge it together. Here also we can merge the data by two ways. First of all, we can ingest the data, or we can upload the Excel workbook file over here, and after uploading over here, we can merge it with the existing workbook. That the external file will be merged with our current working file, and apart from it, the other option is that we can play around with the data available in the custom report. How we can do this? How we can ingest a custom report in the worksheets? For that, we need to first of all see that how we need to enable things for this workbook to get the work done. Let me pull out any report. I think this would work for us. Copy of this report. For ingesting any report into Vulkit, what do we have to do is we have to go to edit option of any custom report, or else if you are creating in a report, we have to go to advanced option over here. When we go to our advanced option here, we need to, it's already enabled for web service and web service API. Apart from it, we need to enable for worksheet over here. When we enable it for worksheet, the report will be available for us to ingest it. I will give and I will go over here. Now I want to go to add live data. I will go to add live data and I will search with the report name over here. My report name was what? Worker data worksheet. The name came. Here include the report for enable worksheet, not enable worksheet. Let's say if I have a report which is not enabled for a worksheet, that I can pull it over here, which we include in the list but it is always advised to include this always enable for a worksheet option. We have to choose once I click on DB worker. Data, the report which we created or the one which we enabled for the worksheet when we click on it. Get what type of report it is. It is advanced report, what columns are available into it. We'll get the list of all the columns. I don't need to always go and open the report over there. It will be a manual work for me. In worksheet itself, I will be able to browse to different reports and be able to see what kind of fields are available into it and go to next. Now, here I will get an option to choose what kind of fields I want. Let's say I have a report which has 52. 100 fields, just an example, and I want to do working on it. But I don't want all of the data into it. Let's say I want to use that report as a reference. I have a report which has all the basic pie data and I want to use it every time. What I will do is I will not always create a new report. I will use the existing report and pull the fields out of it. Here it is showing me what are the available columns. Are there here? As we saw in the previous one. The previous one we saw that this 13 in this report also you can see 13 items are there. There are also 13 items are there. I don't want every each. One of them I will go to next. I can pick each and every of them. Or here. This I'll put it here. I can also rearrange as over here. Let's say you want to put the legal name here and I don't want to take the middle name. I want the last name. You can take the last name now. I will take the worker. You can see I forgot to add the work over here. What I did is I rearranged it. As I want to rearrange it, I can rearrange it as that way that thing which we can get now, keep the hide it and look at the gender. And we will pull the location city. And if you don't want to do this manually, we can also do a plus plus. That's completely, it's not that only drag and drop option will come, you can also do plus or less over here and click plus, it will get added. Yes, it will be more from the end of the article. Yes, it will be appended at the end of the table. Drag and drop option is where we will use that, where we want to insert the column in between any two of them. Let's say we want to enter the age over here. I'll pull this and I will insert over here. That is how we can do it. Now after doing this, we have an option to preview the data as, because let's say I build a report very back. I'm not sure what kind of data it will come. I can preview the data over here and I will get a sample data. Sample data is in from the existing data only, but very few data rows will come. Here I can see. See, you can see all the details has been populated, but only for limited over. Of course, not all of them. Here I am able to see all the things available now. Here there's an option with add node to column. Let's say I want to add a note to a column. I can do that. I have added note that total waste pay here. Total base pay amount is there, but no currency is there. I can add a note saying when I will do this edit. Note for total base pay and we are doing if can see that the field is in blue and the note is in yellow. I can add a note over here, but not at the moment. This is not an added mode for the note, but I can do it for it. This is where let's say I am doing a test cases over here, or that I can mention a note and I can add a formula column as let's say I want to add a formula to all of it and formula on sheet. Here is saying add note to sheet, add format of sheet. Here it is just adding a column. To it we are not the formula. Once we give this thing will be available for us. Let me close this. Both of them now. This option is for sort by column and sort order. Let's say I want to sort the sort all sort column employee ID and the order will be a sort ascent. If I want to do descending, we will do the descending as once I give next and done, I will be able to do it. The data may not refresh automatically. I can check and uncheck this option and check whether it got refreshed or not, but anyhow, it will be eventually. This will sort it once we do are done on it. I will give it this. I will get next. Here, once I give next, I will get two options. One option is live data. Maintain a connection to Workday data. You would assess the content on a live data AD on demand. And one is the static data doesn't maintain a connection to Workday. A snapshot of the report will be taken and inserted as a static value. The first option is used when I will be requiring the report on a, let's say, regular basis. I want the data to be refreshed on a daily basis. Let's say someone got hired automatically. My sheet will get updated, but static value is used when I don't have a need. I just wanted to extract the data, do some calculation and show it to Airsoft it because sometimes what happens is when we create an Excel file, we might be creating some calculation from our end, but what happens sometimes a new data comes up when all our calculation get finished off. It also happens that we want to show a snapshot of every month, and we decided that we will show for each financial year. Every country is a different financial year. Let's say for a country, if the financial is from January to December, but let's say the data got refreshed and now we have January to December data, but now we have additional January data for another year. What will have is this will impact our data. In that case, in those scenarios, use the static values. We can mention a static value for previous 3 financial here, and by this it won't load any data before 3 years and after 3 years. Here we will choose a live data for now. Table name if you don't provide a table name. Worksheet assigns one to the user guide. Table name as in what that being name of the table if you are inserting. You remember? In we have table. The data is stored in a tabular format or in a normal format. It's showing accordingly that, and limit the number of rows inserted. I've only no data more than, let's say, 100. I can mention that in that term. If I want the data for test, I can limit it. I can limit the number of rows inserted when the data is being reset. Really? I will uncheck it. Highlight the live data area. It will highlight the data which keeps on updating on a regular basis or which is a live data. By that I will be able to see all the new entries shown over there. Restrict live data editing. Refresh to the owner only for live data work. It is a very good option that when there is a live data, we don't want to mess it up by someone who is not a technical person of it. It gives an option to restrict this to the owner only. Only owner can do the edit to the live at the workbook which is enabled. For the live data, apart from it, enable multi-instance value. Multi-instance value we have is over here is, let's say, dependence of multi-instance value. Let me just add it up. See Mega, you can see we previously saw, if you might remember. Remember that Logan McNeil was there. She had 2 spouses, Megan and Pat. Now they both names are coming, but in a comma. Megan Mill, Pat McNeil. Now, if we enable for multi-instances, be able to see in a multi-instance way, but not in a single line. Then global prompt set as a source report. every report, the report which you created, this report, if I go to prompts and here, these are the prompt values available for it. Do I want the prompts or I want prompts set as a source report? Let's say if a source report is taking work or type as employee only and not contingent, then it will use a source filter only. Can disable it over here we can. If our working is completely separate, what people will do is, let's say people is. If people are creating this report specifically for this workbook, then I can attach this report's prompts with this data. But let's say I am creating this report is this workbook with using any additional report, then I should keep it. Then I should not enable it then. Then if I go to static option here, in static option also, just leave data, we are getting too many options. In static, we are only getting limit number of rows inserted. If I want I just want initial 25, 50 rows. For the testing, I can select it. I will give you live data and enable this and give it. Once we do this, the workbook starts loading it. And you can see a table has been formed over here. I can see the table and the data is loaded. And here all the detail has been pulled off over here. What? And now as we have the data, now we can see that all the data is there, and now when I can see on in Logan McNeil, I can just click on here and just go directly to her profile. This function is very huge, which we don't get in Excel or in Google Sheet. Why? Because this system, this worksheet is being integrated with the Workday, we are able to directly access the profile. Otherwise, what happens is this is my personal experience, or you might be also have stated that when you work on access it, we extracted the data and let's say 2005 people data and some workers data is missing. What you will do is we will manually copy the employee ID of that particular worker. Go to the Workday tenant and search it, log into it and see the details. When it's 1 or 2, it's fine, it's not an issue. But when this data is for, when the data is for, when we are to test it for multiple worker, it's very time consuming. This is where we use this particular feature of the workbook. Here, as we saw, we can create a different, let's say this table has been created. This is the limit of the table. Here we can do the working. Now, here we can insert the column and do the calculation, all and do everything now. Here, when you click on table, get this live data option. It is showing the status. Report name from which that this table is being executed, from which report type a last refresh date. And they took 6 seconds. This timing is also very important. That if it is taking more time, we should understand that there might be some issue. With it here, this is very important now workbook schedule. No. Refresh schedule is there for now. What we are doing is we are clicking on this and we are manually refreshing the data now. We can also create a schedule to refresh the data every day or every week or depending on our needs, which by that this data will be updated on a regular basis. But let's say I want to keep it manual. I can keep it manual as here are the columns. If you take an edit, when I go to edit, it will directly go to the edit option which we discussed earlier by ingesting my data. From here again, edit and remove the data. Here it is saying moving columns around my break formulas. because that the formulas are based upon the columns, that column. I am giving any data, but now let's say a column is a numeric and worker is a text. If I interchange this both, then the formula may not work. It's just for a reference that this won't work if we move the columns. We can move the columns anyhow, but we need to make sure that the formula might get disturbed and we might need to adjust it. Now this is how we can do this. We do it here also. You can see the options. This is a table which has been created in just Microsoft Excel. We can create a table when you go to Insert in Excel. We will get a table. Insert it. This is a pivot table. Your table is different and table is different. Table will take a bunch of detailed data and pivot tables can help summarization of the data. Here, we'll get this option. We can enable for multi-sense on. The limit of number of rows is being off. And it is saying as highlight live data when, let's say when any of the data is being highlighted. It will directly show over here. This is how it works. Let me just limit the number if I can. My thing we want will trade. Here we can also I start a conversion. I can start a conversation. That the red Logan. Share with first of all I need to share the worksheet with that particular person in order to comment it. What I will do is I will first of all share with this person and then only I'll be able to comment on that. I can see that it is asking me. This should be with this particular people. I can add a comment that please review please create formula. Total base pair. I'm giving you a comment on it. That all the people who are seeing the data, they will be able to refer this. Here are my commenters. I can also edit and delete it as I can reply to it that it will become a thread. Sometimes we see that the discussion is going on. People keep on commenting and the topic might also keep on changing. If I give reply over here, it won't directly add to it. It will just top it up with that. Now when I go back here, I can see a new conversion has not initiated, but rather thread has been created. When I click on this, I'll be able to see all the detailed things over here. This will help us in organizing this thing in a very efficient way. Because let's say first comment I did was to create a formula for total base pay, and then I told that shorten this country in a way that it should be according to the ISO codes, which is USA, that the ISO codes for the country. I also code 3, which are in three alphabets. We need to mention the code of the country. Be able to do it accordingly. When I add a multiple comments over here, I also need to comment it. It's done or not from my part or from anyone else. It will be hard for someone to trace it. It's better that we reply to this. If we have a conversion on this one, we close it. Just you might also aware of the Microsoft Excel also provide this feature that if you to create a Microsoft Excel file. It is stored over cloud. Then it is automatically saved. Similarly, here also all the changes you do. There is many save button over here as such, but this thing automatically gets saved. There is many such thing to do over here. All the functionalities are very similar. You might be also you to map it up with your data. You have with your experience in Excel, but all the things are almost shamesome. Formatting wise, something may not be the same, it might be different, but functionality is also same time to add if I want to add one decimal and to remove. If I want to change the data type from general. Basically, data type general comes somewhere here in Microsoft Excel. And here it is very different. Things are very similar. Just a few tweaks are there. That's it. Any questions still here? I think I'm good. How you created that and the idea? I'm just wondering the difference between the static and I'm going to call it the active version. For example, you have a huge data source. I just say maybe 5,000 people, I don't know too much maybe. I just say 1,000 people and you're going to only get hundreds of them to make. Make a workbook that shows, for example, I don't know, how long people are staying in the company, hire date, termination date, calculate those fields. Tell you how long they stayed and you made that. And now you only take 100 people out of the 1,000. And you only take let's just say, you only take the ones that were on the top. For example, people who are staying the longest, you want to get them and show them. Hey, this is the people who stay the longest with the company. There's 100 of them. And now you want to use the same data source. And you want to show people who, for example, are living more of maybe a few days ago. Be a year after a year of working, I just say it's not going to be the same 100 people. It's going to be other people from the same data source. I guess in this case, it would be better to just create a new one, the static one, not the more the active one and present it. Exactly. Yes, there are basically two functionalities to that. First of all, we added this table over here. We can add another sheet and add another data over here, but apart from it. The thing which you told is that the live data and the limitation of the row. Let's say I want to create a logic, I want to create some formulas, but you remember that if we create a formula in Excel, it will take. Let's say if the file is, let's say 50,000 rows or 1 lakh rows, the data, the actual. The laptop will only get hang in that case. For here, what you can do is we can first of all get a sample data and sample data will test our formulas. Test our formulas with the logic because let's say if I'm applying a function of substring or change or let's say if I'm applying a lookup, it will apply for 25 rows. Of data as for file 1, data rows as there's no issue in it, what I will do is I will test my logic with the small data, and once I'm fine with that logic of all the functions and formulas which I've applied, I can then test it with the live data. That's one use case. Now second use case, as you told that, let's say I want to get a top. Performance at top 25 performed. When we ingest data, we might have saw the option for sort. Over there, I can sort the option with the higher date as I can apply any particular field with the metric of their performance. Over there, top 25 perform, I will limit with the 25 400 number of rows to be inserted. I will only get a top 50 or 100 top performers in the organization. I won't get any other data, as in I can send across the data to the HR team for their promotions or to the managers for it. Yes, the logic is to share is correct. We can use this case in both ways. This is a good tool for a sharing. One thing is that I feel if you have a dynamic one, the active one, I call it active, it's something that only works in the world. If you want to save it, and let's just say spreadsheet in Excel, and send it to somebody, it's not going to work. For a one that you're going to be sending, you only want to use the passive one, the one that doesn't refresh. Once we download it and save the Excel format with someone else outside the Workday, this dynamic thing won't work. It will only work if someone comes to Workday, log into Workday, log into Drive and open this workbook, then only that workbook will reflect the live data. It's not that if we will download the reported, it will fetch the data from somewhere else and put it over here. It won't work that way. That is how it works. Here, let me show the schedule. Here, frequency. Again, schedule the frequency every day as, and I started in it. Because we want a particular frequency of it, we can mention tomorrow's date. Because today the data got refreshed for tomorrow as after 1 year, and you can mention the time. Here time we can mention when we log in. Let's say if I daily log in at, let's say 8 am, in the morning I can do a refresh at 7:30 or 7:45 because I know that the refresh won't take much time because refresh, let's say in the beginning, load it will take time because in beginning the load will be, let's say, record of 50,000, 1 lakh depending on our data. But once it gets refreshes, once it refresh on daily basis, it will only include the changes only. Not all data will get refresh. We can see that the last refresh happened only for 2 seconds only, and before that it was showing 6 seconds. The first load will take time, but the remaining refreshes, we won't take much time. I can go over here. I can do every day. Options are every day, every week, every other day, it's alternate day, and a refresh notification. Who will get a notification of the refresh that your file has been refreshed. I can also change the time zone as if I am into a Central European time zone. I can change it. I can change the time that it should be refreshed at every, let's say 7:45 or 7:45 once before my login, then it will. Work in that way. This is very beneficial for someone who wants to stay. The work, this ecosystem, and don't want to go outside of it because this is where I can see. The use case of this is that there are companies who don't use Microsoft is at all. They have complete dependency on Google Workspace. Google Workspace is in Google Street is not that robust in the use case. For them, this is very beneficial. But someone who is using, what I personally see that someone is using Microsoft Excel. For them, they might feel this as a restricting thing unless they want to play with the data with Workday. Now let's say this thing is also useful. Let's say I created a report. In that report, I extract the data from Workday. Now what I will do is I will go over here and I will merge workbook. Merge workbook as in, let's say I will upload a workbook. I will upload a workbook. Let's say I downloaded a system. I downloaded a file from a legacy system in an Excel format. And I will load that legacy system file over here and do the working by that. That is also we can do. Go merge. I'll show you how to merge this. I will go merge. It's working on the merger of this workbook. Here we can see that it has mod successfully, but not into this. It has created a different sheet. Let's go to sheet. And here you can see that first name is supervisor organization. All things got added. Let me close. This you can see the review ended performance. This thing wasn't there, it got added for this. Here we are just adding this. We are just merging. This means merging as in it is. We are getting this data over here. Employee, first name, these things were already there from the existing report I have from existing workbook, and we got it. Now what we can do is we can apply lookup and pull the data in this initial sheet. It's good that it's not pulling the data in the main space. Here where we are actually doing walking because let's say by any buying chance, if it gets merge incorrectly, then redo option is there, but with too much data, it takes time to redo and undo the data. That's why it's good that it get appended in a new sheet, and then we can do a field lookup of it. We don't need to keep open side by side because here we lookup is not possible in Excel. What happens is, let's say I open two separate micro of text file, I can do a lookup of it unless they are into the same system, but here I can't do a lookup into different workbooks inside worksheet. I need to add in them into the same workbook. Then only the data lookup will work. Any other questions? I think we have completed with all our course content regarding PRISM data analytics, then data discovery board, then worksheets. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.